Greetings! It is I, Tantus Naravan Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. It is time to continue my discussion on the history of Magic the Gathering, where I go from set to set, product release from product release, going over everything that Wizards of the Coast has released under the Magic brand, giving you some information about it, letting you know about it, and helping you understand a lot of the cards that are out there. Let's continue with an interesting set, this one. Unhinged. Unhinged is a booster-only set that is completely and utterly non-tournament legal. It is prohibited at tournaments. It had 141 cards and it was released on November 20th of 2004. Now it is considered to be a follow-up to Unglued, but not a direct sequel. Not something that is considered part of that entire thing. It's its own thing still. And the fact is that it's not even considered an expansion. So when you're looking at expansions, not considered. The only cards you could actually play in tournament out of this entire set are its basic lands. That's it. Everything else doesn't even get near any tournament, ever. Now it had the themes of minigames, fractions, and of course artist matters, and it had a keyword called gotcha. Now, there were also foils to the cards in this set at the same rate that you would find foils in normal sets. So you could find a foil completion set of everything here just as like before. Now, it had many jokes and references to previous cards in Magic the Gathering sets. In fact, it was one of the big themes that existed within the set. It was also only available in English because of some of the problems when it came to translating this into other languages, made it more difficult, and so they just didn't bother. Now, it did have an expansion symbol of a horseshoe to represent it. Now, it did include also a sixth mysterious color, pink. There were a couple of things that could produce pink mana and produce pink creatures. There are no basic lands that produce pink mana, but pink mana and pink creatures are indeed mentioned. Also, all the foils had a little bit of extra something on them. The best example of this would be Super Secret Tech, which was in fact all foil. Every version of Super Secret Tech was foil. There were no versions of it that were not. So it actually had a better chance of you getting it than any other foil card. There's an interesting fact about that one too. But it does show off the fact that foil cards were their own thing in this set too. So it was announced on April 1st of 2004, making people think this was an entire April Fool's Day prank. But it wasn't. It was an actual something they were announcing to be released. It is also the only Magic card product that has a 13+ age rating to it. The only one. Now, it was marketed in 15 card boosters, just like everything else at the time, and that's the only thing it was sold in. Now, it had 5 basic lands that were black bordered, no text, full art. So that's very unique amongst Magic cards. The release card was a foil version of the Ass Whoopin' card, and there were actually 5 alternate art promos that existed as player rewards related to this set. Now, it did actually feature some artwork that showed off popular legends from amongst all time in Magic the Gathering sets, including Kamal and Akroma and other such legendaries. And just like with Unglued, Unhinged had a secret message that you'd find at the bottom of every card. Every card had a word on it, and if you put them in card set order, put the words together, it would have a long-winded statement, which doesn't make a lot of sense, but it exists as a secret message. Now, it had a new ability word called Gotcha. If a card with Gotcha was in your graveyard and your opponent did something that was mentioned under the Gotcha cards, you could yell Gotcha and take the card from your graveyard back into your hand. Effectively, it had some kind of weird trigger. If your opponent did that trigger, you got them and you got the card back. It also had, of course, matters cards, unusual ones that had matter with different things, especially artist matters cards, in which there were things that, you know, had to do with the artist of the card, but it did keyword into different abilities that it mattered for these things that didn't matter before. They did have another good set of matters abilities. It had fractions. So you did fractions in both power and toughness and mana, and so you had fraction costs for various things. It had, of course, a big donkey and monkey theme. There was lots of donkeys and monkeys. And also had mini-games as a theme. There were a number of cards which allowed you to play a small mini-game. Things like rock, paper, scissors, staring contest, arm wrestling, that the result of said mini-game would have an effect in the game. Now, it had 4 cycles. It had a cycle of common gacha cards. It had a cycle of uncommon gacha cards. It had a cycle of donkeys. And, of course, it had the cycle of mini-games. Now, as I said, it did reference a lot of different cards, and it referenced them in both flavor, it referenced them in name, and it represented them in abilities in various different ways. And some of them represented multitudes of them. For a good example would be Mother of Runes was referenced in this set with Mother of Goons. Now, there are a number of things that existed within this set which have never appeared again and probably never will. Special symbolisms. First off, of course, we have the 1/2 colorless mana symbol. Won't be showing up again. It has the 1,000,000 mana symbol. Cost you 1,000,000 mana for a card. Won't be showing up again. Half of a colored mana symbol. They had half of white and half of red, and that was all that showed up, but half of a mana colored symbol. And the infinite mana symbol. Yeah, they had one of those. These will probably never show up again. Alright, let's talk about some cards from this set. There's Ass Whoopin'. You destroy target silver bordered card from any game that you could see from where you are seated. Technically permanent in play. But effectively then it's any game you can see. A little open-ended there. We have the Asquatch. Each other donkey you control gets +1.5, +1.5. So that's 1 and a half. You know, not what a half. Yeah. Anyway, whenever a donkey comes to play under your control, you can untap target creature, gain control of it until end of turn. Alright, yay! Steal things, donkeys, halves. There's Avatar of Me. It costs you 1 colorless mana for each 10 years you've been alive. Its power is equal to your height and feet. And its toughness is equal to your American shoe size, rounded to the nearest 1/2. Its color is the color of your eyes. So this was actually a way that you could get other colors other than the 5/6 basic colors that existed because of pink, which I talked about. You could get something like a brown-colored permanent. Booster Tutor! You open a sealed pack of Magic the Gathering cards in a booster pack. You reveal those cards. You can take one of those cards and put it into your hand. The caveat is, before the beginning of your next game, you have to remove that card from your library. So, yes, I can basically open a pack of Magic cards, get a card from it, but then I don't get to use anything else from there, and that card leaves my deck before the end of the game, or by the end of the game. Brushstroke Painter Mage. Tap it, target permanent's artist becomes the artist of your choice until end of turn. Artists. Yay! Cheaty Face. You may sneak Cheaty Face into play without paying its mana cost at any time. But if opponent should catch you right away, effectively they catch you when you're doing this, then they have the option of removing Cheaty Face from the game. Otherwise, if they notice you after you've played it, after some time, guess what? Cheaty Face is out and they can't worry about it. Drawn Together. When Drawn Together comes into play, you choose an artist. Creatures of that artist get +2/+2. Duh! Destroy target creature with a reminder text. Reminder text being when they have a keyword, and they note what that keyword actually does after it. Duh, you should know it. Enter the Dungeon. Alright, you take your library and you play a sub-game of Magic under the table that you're playing at, where each player's life total is 5 for that game, and again, you're using your library as the deck for that sub-game. The winner of this sub-game can then return to the normal game and search their library for 2 cards of their choice, put them into their hand, and then shuffle their library. Sub-games of Magic. Oh, they're so wonderful. Form of the Squirrel. When Form of the Squirrel comes into play, you put a 1/1 green squirrel token into play. If this token leaves play, you lose the game. But you cannot be attacked, you cannot be the target of spells or abilities, and you cannot play spells. You turn into a squirrel. Gleamax. It's the 1,000,000 cost one. You choose the targets for all spells and abilities. So whenever there's something that targets something, you get to choose it. Granny's Payback. Your life total becomes your age. So if you're a very old person playing Magic the Gathering and you would play this card, your life total would go up a lot. Otherwise, if you're young, you don't want to play with it. Johnny, Combo Player. For 4 mana, you can search your library for a card and put it into your hand, and then shuffle your library afterwards. As simple as that and kind of ridiculous. Land Aid 04. So you can search your library for a basic land card and put it into play tapped. But if during the entire time of this you were singing a song of your searching for through your library, revealing it, putting it into play, you get to put that land into play untapped. Meddling Kids. When Meddling Kid comes into play, you choose a word with 4 or more letters in it. Cards with that word in it cannot be played. So it's got word matters that actually exist here too. And this is an unusual one for it. Monkey, Monkey, Monkey. When Monkey, Monkey, Monkey comes to play, you choose a letter. Monkey, Monkey, Monkey gets +1/+1 for each non-land permanent that has a name starting with said letter. So if you would say like M, it would get +1/+1 for itself. But if you have other M cards out in play, Monkey, Monkey, Monkey gets bigger. Oh, Mox Lotus. Tap to add infinite mana to your mana pool. For 100 mana, you can get a mana of your choice. You can change it, basically, you get a mana of any color. Which, I mean, you've got an infinite anyway. And also, you don't lose life for mana burn. This was back when mana burn still existed. Guess what? It's gone now, so this is a little less useful, but you can tap it for infinite mana. You don't need a combo. Now I know my ABCs. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control a permanent, if you control permanents that have every letter in the English alphabet, A through Z, you win the game. So, alphabetical win? Pointy Finger of Doom. 3, tap. Spin Pointy Finger of the Doom at the center of the table. It has to at least have 1 full rotation of spin, but when it stops, the closest thing it is pointing to gets destroyed. R&D's Secret Lair. Play cards as they are written, ignore all errata, tap to add 1 mana to your mana pool. Effectively, you don't use errata for anything, which is an interesting thing, especially if you're playing with older cards. Rare Be Gone. Each player sacrifices all rare permanents, and then reveals their hand and discards all rare cards from their hand. It gets rid of all rares from play. So if you're playing a Pauper deck and people are allowing this type of card, really good, if they're allowing it. Richard Garfield, PhD. You may play Magic cards as if they were another Magic cards of your choice with the same mana cost. This includes color. You can't choose the same card twice when you're doing this. Staying Power. As long as Staying Power is in play until end of turn effects, and this turn effects don't end. So you effectively just make all your instants pretty permanent. Super Secret Tech. All premium cards / foil cards cost 1 less to play, and all premium / foil creatures get +1/+1. Topsy-Turvy. The phases of play are reversed. So you start with end step and go all the way to untap at the end of your turn. Topsy-Turvy. Also, if there are more than 2 players in the game, you reverse the order of gameplay. Weird and wonderful and wow. Uktabe Calm, an 8/8 trample that when it comes to play, you destroy all artifacts, and its special ability is tap 2 apes you control to put a 1/1 ape token into play. It implies apes mate and create more apes under the direction of Uktabe Calm. Yeah. A little lewd. But if you're playing a ape deck that has no limits to what cards you can choose from, it's wonderful. But that's it for today. I introduced you to Unhinged. Yet another incredibly silly joke game set that Magic came out with. The only other one they ever did, other than Unglued, which I've already talked about. Unhinged is weird. And very weird. With matters that no one ever thought about. With words, artists, other things, playing mini games, half costs in power and toughness and mana. they did a lot of just ridiculous stuff. The most ridiculous things they could come up with, they sort of just spewed it out with these things. Things that you probably would never consider in a Magic game, especially now. New colors, things like that, which, again, there are always certain things which pertain to what's going on here, which might exist before. We see full art lands. That's something that we can see things from like Zendikar, and people love those a lot. There are other things that exist here which might be able to exist in parts of the game. A lot that won't. But some things might. You never know about certain aspects of the things. There are always these little hints of stuff that they want to do that, if they can find a way, they'll do it. And then there's just the craziness, which there's a lot of. But anyway, if you have any questions, comments, anything you say, anything you think I left out, please leave in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. It's just for the channel, the Empire, the work I do. If you want to show some extra support, you can always check out my Patreon, link in the description below. If you want to check out some other great Magic the Gathering content, I can recommend my friends of the multiverse. They Said, We Said, Card Bazaar, and Tasty Snackies. Always great Magic the Gathering content. But regardless, until the next time, I bid you farewell.